Tape my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? Hush.
Welcome, World Ablaze listeners, to episode 75, recorded May 5th, 2025. So, I guess it's Cinco de Mayo. Didn't even think about that till now, to be quite honest. Been busy all day. And the news has been on fire the last few days. Being Monday, a lot happened over the weekend, and today there was just so much coming out and being released. I am just, it took me a while to say to myself, what do we narrow down to? What do I focus on? So today I will be talking about Israel's plans to completely take control of Gaza. And of course, the very controversial Shiloh Hendrix receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars after calling a young black child the word which resembles Niger, but is definitely pronounced differently. And before we go into that, and hold on. I also have to address that Trump wants to reopen Alcatraz. That's coming too. Hold on. That's coming too. But before then, while the rest of the world, or most of the world that is Catholic anyway, mourns the loss of their head of the church, the figurehead of the church, the leader, the Pope, they're trying to find a new Pope, and they're struggling to find a new candidate. But while the world is both mourning and celebrating, and the mood is very both happy and somber, in light of what may come, and while they celebrate the passing of the Pope, not in a bad way, but a reflection on the good that he did do, because he was a very progressive Pope, we have to address the fact that the mood changed. The mood suddenly changed when Trump threw his hat in the ring to be the head pontiff himself. Yes, Trump wants to be Pope. Yes, he does. And more on that, I have a video from 10 News First, and here's what they have to say about this situation.
As the Vatican prepares to host the conclave to elect a new pontiff, Donald Trump has posted an AI-generated image of himself as the Pope on his social media platform, which the White House then shared on its official X account. Catholics around the world say it's deeply insulting and makes a mockery of their faith.
In white papal robes, seated in an ornate chair, Donald Trump posted this fake image, AI-generated. It was then shared on the official White House account. Earlier this week, the US president joked he'd like to be the next Pope.
I'd like to be Pope. That would be my number one choice.
Trump is not Catholic, and leaders of the 1.4 billion strong church aren't amused. The former Italian PM responded by saying vergogna, which means shame.
Shame, shame, shame. Shame on you, Trump. Shame on you, Trump. You evil, satanic person. Now, with that being said, does Trump even really care? No, because what Trump is doing is he's just being Trump. He's being the ultimate troll. The reason he put I can't speak for him, but I'm just going to assume. I'm going to assume here, okay? I can't speak for him. But the reason I think he did this, I'm sorry if I'm laughing. I think it's kind of funny. It's also distasteful, by the way. I don't think it was in poor taste for sure, but still kind of funny. But anyway, the reason I think he did this is because the Catholic Church has had a hard time finding a candidate to step up. There's a lot of controversy regarding that. And so he decided, hey, I'm up for the job. And he released the picture. I'm sorry. The picture of himself as the Pope sitting on the papal throne. And if you haven't seen it, just type in Donald Trump Pope image and it will pop right up. And so therefore I say, you evil Trump, Be gone with you, Satan. Be gone with you, Trump. Okay. I'm sorry. Look, I apologize to all my Catholic listeners, but I will be very honest. I'm not Catholic. And while people are up in arms about this, they're crying from the rooftops. Let's just be honest. Most of the people that are complaining about this are basically only Catholic on Sunday. They're not even 100% Catholic throughout the rest of the week. It's like Sunday, oh wait, time to go to church, confess my sins, I'm good again, I'm clean, I'll go back out and be an asshole. That's the truth. But since we're trying to compare the misdeeds of Trump, how wrong this was, let's not dismiss the hypocrisy of the Catholic Church themselves, because the Catholic Church is not infallible. You see, the Catholic Church is a church founded by people who are not God. They're not holy. Let's just be honest. You can commit yourself to a holy type life and lifestyle, but you're still a man, a woman, or for the sake of just the general population on this earth that we call people, I will just say you're still a man. So, with that being said, this report just came out this year, actually, April 2025, from Fortune. Headline, $6 billion Vatican bank was beset by scandals, disastrous investments, and ties to, hold on to this, the mafia. Very holy indeed. That's right. Look, we will never understand the ways of God, apparently. And no knock on God, by the way. Just the Catholic Church assumes to be God on earth, right? Yeah. Which in and of itself is a contradiction, which no one comes to the Father except through me. That's what Jesus said, I believe, in the Bible. Anyway, so interesting. Now, to the credit of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, the former pope, the pope that literally just recently died, the pope I mentioned in the beginning, although I didn't name him, I apologize for that. Pope Francis did see the issue and wanted to fix it. So maybe the Catholic Church was trying to turn a corner. But let's also talk about, well, how the Catholic Church throughout history would turn a blind eye to certain relationships if it benefited the Catholic Church, namely those of dictators such as, Mussolini. The Lateran Treaty of 1929 between Italy and the Vatican was seen by many as a tacit endorsement of Mussolini's regime. All right, well, there's that. How about Pius XII and the Holocaust? While Pius XII's silence during the Holocaust has been criticized, he also privately helped Jews escape persecution. Well, there you go. Including a famous rescue operation of 1,000 Jewish children, according to the Washington Post. So there's that hypocritic contradiction, doing the right thing, saving the Jews, but at the same time being silent and not drawing a line in the sand when it came to the Holocaust. So, contradictory there, but ended up doing the right thing. Okay. How about Franco in Spain? The Vatican also maintained a degree of support for Francisco Franco's regime in Spain, despite his authoritarian rule, particularly after the Spanish Civil War. Wow. Got it. Okay. And then there was also Paul VI, who supported a Chilean dictator, Augusto Pinochet. So just saying that the Catholic Church, the Holy Catholic Church, which lives by the foundations and teachings of the Bible, well, including the books that they threw in themselves as well. I'm not going to let that one slide, but there's definitely a big difference between the Catholic Bible and the other Bibles that are out there in print. But regardless, and if I'm losing listeners because you don't like what I'm saying about the Catholic Church, well, then so be it. Whatever. Now, with that being said, the most controversial recent times, was Pope Francis' stance on LGBTQ inclusion in the church. But his stance was very progressive, extremely progressive, and many argued that the church was going in the wrong direction. So as recently as of, well, even today, because it's still not settled, the church itself has been losing followers for its progressive stances as of late. Here's Pope Francis on 60 Minutes, who clarifies his stance on blessing same-sex couples.
Last year, you decided to allow Catholic priests to bless same-sex couples. That's a big change. Why?
No, what I allowed was not to bless the union. That cannot be done because that is not the sacrament. I cannot. The Lord made it that way. But to bless each person, yes. The blessing is for everyone. For everyone. To bless a homosexual type union, however, goes against the given right, against the law of the church. But to bless each person, why not? The blessing is for all.
Now, that sounds, does that sound so bad to any human being living today? Where's the controversy? Well, the controversy is that being a homosexual, according to strict Catholic rule and according to the Bible, was looked down on. They shouldn't be able to take or receive the blessing. And yet here, Pope Francis is saying, well, look, the blessing's for everyone. But he did draw a line. Like he said, I can't bless a same-sex marriage. That I won't allow. I can't do it. And I think the only reason he said that is because deep inside the Catholic Church, behind the walls of the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they definitely would not allow him to go that far. But Pope Francis is obviously a very modern, progressive Pope. God rest his soul, as they say, as he has, as I said it previously, he just passed. But what he did say, while acceptable, while progressive, does go against a few verses in the Bible. There's about top 10 Bible verses about homosexuality. I found this on Bible Study Tools, and it gives you the chapter, verse, the book, chapter, and verse, so you can cross-reference it yourself. Let's just read a few of these, because the previous Pope Francis is in direct contradiction to what would be considered the Word of God, or the teachings thereof. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22, you shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them. All right. How about Jude chapter 1, verse 7? Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example by undergoing a punishment of eternal fire. Wow. Okay. How about we go down to Corinthians over here? Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 10. Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither the sexual immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who practice homosexuality, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. Interesting. So let's all cry about Trump just being a troll, by the way. But let's go ahead and ignore the controversial hypocrisy of the actual Catholic Church. Right. Now, again, I'm going to say what Pope Francis said in his stance, to me, was the correct stance. But according to the hard and strict rule of the Catholic Church, according to the teachings in the Bible, they are wrong. And by the way, we didn't even point out all the cases in which priests have molested children, and the church happily covered it up and paid for their defense. So, again, Trump, the troll, the satanic Trump himself, has again risen and has once again angered the earth and has upset the representation of God on this globe, the Catholic Church themselves. Now, while we're talking about the shenanigans of Trump, let's go on to other breaking news regarding Trump's decisions. This just in, breaking news from CBS News 24/7.
President Trump said he is directing his administration to reopen Alcatraz prison to hold America's most violent criminals. The former prison was known for holding some of the most notorious felons in the country, like Al Capone. It opened in the 1930s, but then closed its doors in 1963 for several reasons, including operational costs. The president made that announcement on social media, saying in part, "When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be." He doubled down on that stance while talking to reporters outside the White House. Take a listen to this.
Here's an idea I've had, and I guess because the judges, so many of these radicalized judges, they want to have trials for every single, think of it, every single person that's in our country illegally, they came in illegally. That would mean millions of trials, and it's just so ridiculous what's happening. And it's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, it's a bad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order. And, it's got quite a history, frankly. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
Okay. Well, let me just say this. One of the most feared prisons on earth, for its time, still, when you say the name Alcatraz, people automatically know what you mean. I don't disagree with reopening Alcatraz and using it for the sole purpose of being, I guess, a maximum prison, or what maybe even be considered a supermax prison, because it's an island prison, right? It's away from the shores, it's out in the choppy, cold, frigid waters, shark-infested waters, and I get it. But in that same statement, he references illegal immigrants and the fact that due process for each illegal immigrant is just too overwhelming. So Trump is, I need to understand, is the purpose to have a rebuilt, reimagined Alcatraz where the worst of the worst are sent to keep away from the general population? Or is he wanting to use this as a holding cell for illegal immigrants that haven't been processed through the system yet? That was a very, very unclear statement by Trump. Now, you know what? I'm going to let you make your own decision on what he meant there. But the reality is this. Yes, Alcatraz might be a good idea. We may need to revisit it. Those opposed to it, though, also make a good point, because Alcatraz, well, it's going to cost. You see, Alcatraz itself may cost, they're estimating, anywhere between $250 to $375 million upfront to build. And it's also estimated that it would take another $40 to $60 million a year to operate. And the numbers right now, I believe I'm correct in this. Please fact check me if you can, because I'm kind of just going off the top of my head, my memory. Let me see. Let me look this up real quick. Here we go. It says Alcatraz brings in roughly 20 to 34 million a year in tourism revenues. Okay. Now, it doesn't say anything about its cost of operation to keep those tours or the tourism going. But regardless, there is definitely an investment involved in not just rebuilding, but maintaining Alcatraz. Alcatraz has always been an issue because there's no fresh water there. All the water has to be brought in. Of course, all the food will have to be brought in anyway, but that's the same even if you're here on land. I mean, everything has to be trucked to you. But as far as water goes, that resource in and of itself, there is no fresh water. You're going to have it brought in. So there's another hurdle there. But aside from that, is it really that bad of an idea? Will it be expensive? Yes. I think Trump should table this. I know he just likes to say things, and it's hard to tell if he's very serious about this. But I also question what he said. Is this really for bad people, bad criminals, or are you just looking for a detention center for illegal immigrants? That distinction is very important and should be important to all Americans. Okay, so while we're tabling the idea of rebuilding and reopening Alcatraz, let's move away from the United States for now. Let's revisit what's going on with the Gaza Strip, the Israel versus Hamas war, with the poor Palestinian people stuck in the middle. This is breaking news as of today. I saw this report come out this morning. Again, recording on the 5th of May today, 2025. Headline from Euronews: Israeli cabinet approves plan to seize all of Gaza Strip. Okay, so Israel wants to take the whole strip over. The report goes on to read, Israel has approved plans on Monday to capture the entire Gaza Strip and remain in the territory for an unspecified amount of time. Two Israeli officials said any move that, if implemented, would vastly expand Israel's operations in the Palestinian territory and likely face fierce international opposition. And yes, it will. I agree with that. It goes on to read that Israeli cabinet ministers approved the plan in an early morning vote. According to AP, hours after the Israeli military chief said the army was calling up tens of thousands of reserve soldiers, the new plan, which the officials said was meant to help Israel achieve its war aims of defeating Hamas and freeing hostages held in Gaza, would also push hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to southern Gaza, which would likely exacerbate an already dire humanitarian crisis. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity as they were discussing military plans. Since a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas collapsed in mid-March, Israel has taken control of further territory in the Strip, which now amounts to roughly 50% of Gaza. Before the truce ended, Israel halted all humanitarian aid into the Strip, including food, fuel, and water, setting off what is believed to be the worst humanitarian crisis in nearly 19 months of the Israel-Hamas war. The Israeli officials said the plan included the capturing of the Strip and the holding of territories. The plan would also seek to prevent the militant Hamas group from distributing humanitarian aid, which Israel says strengthens the group's rule in Gaza. It also accuses Hamas of keeping the aid for itself to bolster its capabilities. The plan also included powerful strikes against Hamas targets, the officials said. The officials said Israel was in touch with several countries about U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to take over Gaza and relocate its population, under what Israel has termed voluntary immigration, yet which has sparked condemnations from Israel's allies in Europe and the Arab world. One of the officials said the plan would be implemented gradually. Both officials spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were discussing military plans. Now, given the situation of the war and how this has been fought by Hamas, I knew this was going to come. I knew this was going to happen. Many analysts around the world knew this was going to happen. Israel would eventually move to take over Gaza. And strategically, it's the only way they can probably win this war against Hamas is if they really take over the territory. But the question is, what of the Palestinian people? All it says is they have a plan to move them in what they consider voluntary immigration, which is complete bullshit. It's not voluntary. So what of the safety and well-being of those people? And I understand all of this is in an attempt to flush out Hamas and separate them so they could finally fight against a known enemy. Understood. I get it. But what of the Palestinian people? Where do they go? If you're going to take over the entire Gaza Strip, which seems like the plan here, and you're going to hold on to the territories as it has been said, will they now become Israeli citizens? Will you look after these people and allow them to live in Israel? That remains to be seen. How far they go with this plan to not just eradicate Hamas, but also do the right thing and look out for the Palestinian people that have been caught in the middle of this, that's going to speak volumes as to Israel's true intentions. And again, I've always been a proponent of Israel protecting itself. Okay, that October 7th attack was horrendous and horrible. But to this point, it has been argued, and many do agree, it's gone on kind of too far. But then again, how do you fight an enemy that props up its own people in front of them as shields, that builds bases underneath their feet, that attack and then run and hide within the general population? This is not an easy war. This is not an easy war. And it's a war that doesn't have a traditional acceptable solution. So this move may be justified. But again, the question stands. What of the Palestinian people? What will you do with these people once you've successfully immigrated them, as they say, and flushed out Hamas and eradicated your enemy? What of the Palestinians? That, again, it remains to be seen. I'm going to keep an eye on this, and I'm sure I'll be talking about this in future episodes. But very interesting move here. And a move that we all predicted, that many of us all predicted would eventually happen. Now, while the situation there between Israel and Hamas and the Palestinians is extremely controversial and captures the attention of the entire world, let's jump back over to the United States, where we have another controversy that yet again is pushing racial divide between the people of the United States. More specifically, if I have to say it, between Black America and white America. And I'm talking about the controversy of Shiloh Hendrix, a white mother who was allegedly caught on video calling a young Black child, maybe a 5-year-old child, is according to the reports, calling this child that word again, that's kind of like Niger, but not said that way. So the situation is, she was caught calling this little kid that word. And someone happened to be at the park to film her. Now, the video that was leaked doesn't actually show her calling the kid the word. It's more like the guy with the camera keeps asking her if she did, and then she responds to him with the word that represents Niger, and does so out of spite, it seems, more than anything else. But regardless, I have that clip. Now, if you're going to be offended by the word that I am talking about, I'm just going to give you fair warning right now. I'm going to play it. The word's going to be said. And so earmuffs for those who need them.
Did you call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What, if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Okay, so there's that video. Interesting enough is the person who recorded that video, by the way, ended up being a you just can't. This is, American society right now, like everything that's going on in America, I feel like we're just living through one of those bad movies. But the guy who recorded this ended up being a Somali pedophile who has no business even being on or around a playground in a park with children, and was literally facing the judge, believe it or not, the 5th of May, today, as of this recording. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. This is true. So here's the breakdown of what happened. Okay. And again, nobody is condoning the use of that word, the N-word, the word that is similar to Niger. But here's the breakdown. 5-year-old was stealing from her child. Okay, so that 5-year-old black kid was stealing from her child. The Somali pedophile was in this country, and moreover, the Somali pedophile was at a kids' park and then somehow captures her saying derogatory things, but really after he was kind of egging her on to do so. Regardless, what she said was wrong, should not have been said. She should have held her composure. Okay, period. It wasn't right to say it. Now, here's where the racial divide and controversy is coming into play here. Everyone is upset about this. The black community is just all over this. Oh, white women think they can get away with so much. White women are unhinged. I mean, you should just look up this scenario and just read all the comments. It is ridiculous. And they're more mad now because in response to all the blowback, to all the hate that this woman's receiving, the alleged white community started to give Sen go. And as of now, she has earned or received $676,539. And everyone's screaming, oh my God, this just confirms how racist MAGAs are. Conservatives are racist. Well, first off, none of this has to do anything with MAGA or conservatives. This was a direct response to the stupid, outlandish support that the black community gave Carmelo Anthony. Did everybody forget about him? Remember the kid in April 2025 that in front of hundreds of witnesses plunged a knife into the heart of a white kid? 2 teenagers. And he's trying to claim it was self-defense in front of hundreds of witnesses, by the way, who say the opposite. And what happened? The black community jumped up and said, we need to support this young man. And they raised, in a give, send, go, $523,631 so far. And everybody was outraged. They're like, how would you, I mean, how can you come to terms with supporting a kid or young man who killed another young man in cold blood, regardless of color? But of course, that always gets thrown into it, right? But how can you support that action? Why? Because the young kid was black. He was a victim for somehow making the decision to kill another person in cold blood in front of everybody at this high school where this track meet was happening. And the black community decided it was a good idea to send this kid's family hundreds of thousands of dollars to support his efforts to not go to jail for killing someone. I'm sorry, but these two actions are not comparable or anywhere related to being proportionate to each other. Did Shiloh use that word, that derogatory word? Should she have used it? Absolutely not. But is it akin to killing someone and stabbing them in the heart? Absolutely not. And if we're going to talk about, racial crimes, what about the black on white violence? This Carmelo Anthony kid was caught on many videos, allegedly caught on other videos, violently beating other white kids. And again, I'm saying allegedly. And decided to kill someone just because he's that angry. Someone who brought a knife. This wasn't a small knife, by the way, a good-sized knife into a public event. Okay, so I'm sorry, black community. I'm going to talk to you directly. You're all up in arms and you're yelling and screaming and you're full of rage over this person using the N-word because another young kid, yes, black kid, was stealing stuff out of her young child's bag. And out of her frustration, she used the N-word. Wrong? Sure. She could have used any other word. She could have done anything else. Agreed. I agree with you. Okay, black community, I agree with you on this one. But I don't agree with you, and I'm talking to the black community, And the fact that you think it was okay to support a black man, a young black man, by funding him in his defense and somehow claiming he didn't kill a white kid, a young white man in cold blood, yet did so in front of hundreds of people in public at a public event, and did so only because he had that much anger within him, that's okay. Okay, so let me get this straight. Black violence, good, and white derogatory remarks towards another colored person or race, bad. They're both bad, period. They're both bad, but they're not proportional whatsoever. They're not the same whatsoever. I don't think that anybody should have jumped to the aid of the Shiloh Hendrix chick, to be quite honest. I mean, come on. $600 and something thousand for what? Are you awarding her for using the N word? And in turn, black community, are you awarding or rewarding a young black man for killing a young white man? I don't understand what's going on with American society right now. I really don't. Where did all this hate come from? This divide. It has got to end. This is ridiculous. I think back to when I was growing up. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, probably on the tail end of whichever, but regardless, a Gen Xer. And, you know, I go back to many conversations I've had with people from my generation. And we don't recall. I mean, look, there was always something, but it was never this bad. It was never this bad. You know, my friends were black. My friends were brown. They were yellow. They were red. They were white. But mostly, to be quite honest, I had more Mexican friends and black friends than I had white friends. And we all got along. All of us got along. We all helped each other. And here I am living in today's times. And somehow, we just won't let racism die. We reward it. We perpetuate it. You've got Congress people like Jasmine Crockett trying to keep it alive and say it's okay to stand up for your blackness and act accordingly against, you know, hateful white people. And I'm not putting words in her mouth. I'm paraphrasing, but she said that same message so many times. The same messaging that Maxine Waters, another congressperson, has said over and over. It starts at the top. If we can't get our house straight in our government and let the hate die and let the racism end, we're going to be in trouble because it's not getting better. It seems to be getting worse. And I don't know who's stirring it up. I don't know if this is a grand plan for a great reset or just to create the divide so that it's easier to control the population. I know I'm starting to get conspiratorial and dive down some rabbit hole here, but this is a very ridiculous time we live in, where now anything that is considered racist, depending on who gets the most points, I guess, in this stupid team sport that everyone's playing, it's not really whites versus blacks, but they're trying to make it that way. And we're rewarding people for doing the wrong thing. Is this the America that you want your kids to grow up in? Is this the America that young people deserve right now? This is not the America that my generation worked so hard to leave behind. It is not. This isn't the America that we wanted to live in as we got older. I'll guarantee you that one. I don't know what the fix is, but listen, everybody, I know it's a cliche and simple saying, but we really all need to learn to get along. And we need to put this shit behind us. All right, everybody, that's the end of the show. Thank you very much for hanging out with me and hearing what I had to say. Please like, share, and subscribe to the show. And as always, have yourself a great day.
I wanna taste your content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell.